This is Maria Pearson. She's the UK's longest-serving female prisoner for a crime that can only be described as inhuman anger. In 1986, Pearson stabbed Janet Newton, her ex-boyfriend's new partner, to death. The following year, she was sentenced to life in prison for the murder. Pearson was 31 years old at the time of the murder. Maria Pearson married Malcolm Pearson, who was a welder in 1986, just days after the birth of their daughter Rachel. However, her intense and stormy relationship with Malcolm was apparently ill-fated, and their baby was taken into care after a serious incident at their home. Malcolm moved on with his new girlfriend, Janet, after the breakup. It sparked a rage-fueled campaign by Pearson, who abused Janet in the street and sent bile-filled letters to her mother. Just 2 days after Janet became engaged to Malcolm, Pearson killed her love rival, 23, in the street by stabbing her 17 times. Pearson was imprisoned under the Imprisonment for Public Protection, which only gave minimum sentences and no maximum sentences. Pearson was jailed in 1987 for the murder. The mother of 3 was originally sentenced to 12 years for the killing, but she has been in prison for over 3 times as long. This is Alexandra Tobias. This 22-year-old mom from Jacksonville, Florida, was so obsessed with the Facebook game that when her 3-month-old baby started crying during a game, she violently shook the baby to death for breaking her concentration. Yep, you heard that right. In January 2010, she was playing the Facebook game Farmville when her baby, Dylan Lee Edmondson, started to cry. She got so angry at the baby for interrupting her in the middle of the game that she shook him aggressively. When she stopped to smoke a cigarette to calm herself down, and then she continued to shake the baby. When the baby stopped breathing, she frantically called 911, saying, "He's only 14 weeks old, he's not breathing." When the investigators got there, she told them that a dog had knocked her kid off a couch, had stopped breathing after hitting his head. However, she admitted to violently shaking the baby, which led to his death. Tobias's friends and family said she was a fun-loving person. However, life had given her many tough days. She discovered her mother dead in 2008 and has also confided with a psychiatrist that she was raped at a younger age. Moreover, her relationship with her father was intense. They were both arrested for domestic violence just a few weeks before the baby was killed. In 2011, she was sentenced to 50 years in prison for her crimes. This is Brenda Spencer. She was responsible for the Cleveland Elementary School shooting that took place on January 29, 1979, at Grover Cleveland Elementary School in San Diego, California. In the shooting, the principal and a custodian were killed, while 8 children and police officer Robert Robb were injured. Spencer was 16 years old. The reason for her heinous crime might be one of the most bizarre you've ever heard. She lived in a house across the street from the school. On the morning of Monday, January 29, 1979, Spencer began shooting from her house at children waiting for 53-year-old Principal Burton Ragg to open the gates to Grover Cleveland Elementary. She injured 8 children, starting with 9-year-old Cam Miller, since he was wearing Spencer's favorite color, blue. Spencer fired upon and killed Ragg as he and teacher Daryl Barnes attempted to help the children. Furthermore, she killed 56-year-old custodian Mike Sukar as he attempted to pull a student to safety. While responding to a call for assistance during the incident, Robert Robb, 28, was wounded in the neck as he arrived. Further casualties were avoided only because the police blocked her line of fire by moving a garbage truck in front of the school entrance. After firing 36 times, Spencer barricaded herself within her home for several hours. While there, she spoke by telephone to a reporter from the San Diego Union Tribune, who had been randomly calling telephone numbers in their neighborhood. Spencer told the reporter that she had shot at school children and adults because, "I don't like Mondays. This livens up the day." She also told police negotiators that the children and adults she had shot were easy targets and that she would come out shooting. She finally gave up and left the house, reportedly after being promised a Burger King meal by the negotiators. Police found beers and whiskey bottles around the house, but Spencer didn't look drunk when they arrested her. These accounts are contradicted by the crime scene photos. Her father gave her a semi-automatic rifle as a Christmas present, which she used for the shooting. Brenda pleaded guilty to the 2 murders and assault with a deadly weapon after being tried as an adult. She was sentenced to 25 years in prison, but she's still in prison for an extended amount of time. She'll only receive a revised parole date in 2025. This is Candace, Brito, and Vanessa Zavala. They reportedly kicked an innocent woman in the head, which eventually led to her death outside a nightclub located in Santa Ana. Their reason? Both women were too proud to walk away from the fight. Normally, people would walk away from the brawl, But for Brito and Zavala, they were too proud to walk away from the fight. The fight turned out to be the murder of Annie Kim Pham, an innocent woman. The incident took place outside a nightclub in Santa Ana. The case progressed with only accounts from eyewitnesses and cell phone videos that were made by bystanders. Witnesses said that both the women took turns to kick the victim on the head while she was wrestling with another person. The prosecutors were unable to determine exactly what caused the two accused to hit the victim. The claims that the fight was racially motivated or instigated when the victim accidentally photobombed a photo of the accused women were also rejected. Both women were sentenced to 6 years of imprisonment. The judge criticized them for not walking away and also criticized the bystanders for filming the attack instead of helping. They were fined $4,000 each and ordered to pay £2,500 in funeral costs to Kim's family. The judge asked, "Why didn't you two walk away? You're not gang members, you're not fighters. You had been law-abiding, nice young women, and yet you were all in the fight up to your elbows. If any of you had just swallowed your pride and walked away, none of us would be sitting here." This is Dana Sue Gray. In 1994, this serial killer assaulted and murdered 3 elderly ladies and injured one, simply to support her hefty expense habits and addiction to shopping. She took their credit cards with her after murdering the ladies. She used to go on a massive shopping spree with the credit cards stolen from the victims after each murder. Gray was never suspected of the murders because there was insufficient evidence. Dorinda Hawkins, her third victim, was the only one who survived her assault and provided a detailed description to the authorities. Gray was finally caught when the credit card company called the second victim's family to let them know about the insane spending occurring on her card. The police went to all the places where Gray shopped and interviewed the merchants. They obtained a complete description of the culprit, put 2 and 2 together, and followed her to catch her in the act. Gray was seen going shopping with the credit card of her fourth victim, whom she had just murdered. In the beginning, Gray pleaded insanity for all of her wrongdoings. However, when a neighbor was able to place Gray at her fourth victim's house just before the murder, Gray changed her plea and pledged guilty. In 1998, she was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. She is currently in the California Women's Prison in Chowchilla. Shakira Dorsey, a 16-year-old teen, was brutally beaten to death by her classmate when she allegedly made fun of her classmate's fart in front of a group of girls. In 2012, the 16-year-old from Ohio was killed by her classmate who became furious over getting teased by the victim. Witnesses report that Shakira Dorsey, the victim, was heard making fun of her classmate in front of a group of girls for farting. The classmate started beating Shakira because she was teased. Shakira was beaten so badly that she collapsed unconscious after her stepdad broke up the fight. After receiving 2 separate 911 calls, authorities arrived on the scene. When the police arrived, an ambulance team was treating Shakira, but she breathed her last breath shortly after that. Her classmate was charged with murder, but the authorities have not released her name.